Hello, hello, and welcome, Triumph
Yes.
family, to our new Discovery Moments
Yes.
segment. I am Isabel David,
And I'm Jason David.
and I am your host here. It is going to be an amazing segment.
A beautiful host.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So on this beautiful Tuesday, every Tuesday, we have Discovery Moments for you at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Why? It's a beautiful chance for us to provide you with answers to your questions. So
That's right.
communities have a lot of questions regarding their spiritual walk with God, with reading the Bible,
There's spiritual
with
growth, personal development.
Yes, exactly. So
Self-mastery, life
Jason
mastery.
gets a lot of questions, and so this is a segment for you. So if you've been tuning in, we so appreciate you. And I just want to announce again that we have reached our 1,000 subscribers at least over the last couple weeks. So we want to say thank you. We thank you for you tuning in. Thank you for your subscription. Thank you for your digital seed. It is a wonderful time to be here in Triumph. So today's question is so powerful. This comes from a person who has dealt with narcissism in the past, and have gone through narcissistic tendency themselves. Themselves.
I see.
And so
Excuse me, I'm sweating a little. I have no, makeup crew to come and take care of me. I saw the light on my lip. Anyways, love you guys.
So how do you deal with a narcissistic person, especially if they're like, let's say, a family member that you can't just automatically excommunicate, although there's always no word for can't, but you know what I mean? It makes it really difficult to excommunicate them, something like that in that term.
Yeah. This is a very profound question because it's a simple question in the reality of it, in its scope. The question is simple in its scope. Where it's profound is that usually someone that's asking this, and this is it can be nuanced territory, because I don't know who's asking, and I don't know if they're asking because they're the narcissist and are trying to convince themselves that they're not, or they have gotten a view of their propensities for narcissism, and they want to get free, or they've gotten a view of their propensities towards narcissistic tendencies, but have come to realize it was because they were raised by a narcissist. So when we're dealing with narcissism, the thing that I have to address first, and that I would like to gently address first, and remember, family all over the world, this is not a broad scope therapy. So the question is a question around something that's very serious.
Yes.
But if you need to see a clinical psychologist, a therapist, a strategic life coach, a trauma-informed life coach that understands these therapies, a strategic intervention coach, that's another good one that could be very helpful, or a clinical pastoral counselor or clinical pastoral therapist. That's usually a clergy that's gone through the process of getting licensed and trained with mixing both the theology and the therapies together to understand how they fit.
Right.
And so where the spiritual overlays are, the great thing about pastors that do have licenses in therapy or clinical practice or counseling is they tend to get it faster, and in my experience, and more than someone that just went straight into psychology school, because they started by understanding the spirit.
Okay.
And so then they can assess the soul and the mind better because they also understand the spirit.
Perfect. Okay.
So this is important to answer. So first, I want to share that when we talk about narcissism, we get to understand that there is a pseudo prescription to what narcissism is in our culture today. There's a lot of people pretending at being urban psychologists. Okay. And they watch a session of Friends or a session of something on TV,
Right.
and they called someone a narcissist,
Right.
and they said, oh yeah, whatever that tendency was of that character, oh, a narcissist. Oh yeah, I know a friend who's like that, you know, they're a
Right.
narcissist.
Right.
And usually what they're calling narcissism is the very basic possible indicators that a psychologist or a psychotherapist or clinician would cause them to look deeper. In other words, the person goes to therapy and they go, I feel like I might be a narcissist. Ready for this? The therapist is probably already saying, you might most likely not be, because you actually came and asked if I was a
Ooh.
narcissist.
Wow.
A narcissist, never a true NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. A true NPD will never ask themselves if they're the one creating the crime. They will never look at themselves to say, so the interesting thing is that narcissism comes from the word narcissus, which was a name. It was a name in Greek mythology where you have Narcissus, who began to behold himself in the water and died because he thought he was so beautiful he wouldn't get away from looking at himself.
Oh, wow.
So
Did you guys know that, family? That's a great tip to write down.
So the pseudo narcissism of urban psychology tends to only look at that idea that you think you're so beautiful and you're so grandiose and you're so great and you're so powerful and you're so this, you have all these grandiose ideas about yourself, that you're a narcissist. Narcissism is actually much more tacit and vulnerable than that. A narcissist is very, very scared and very, very vulnerable inside, and they're very insecure.
Wow.
So they may be beholding themselves, touting themselves, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the greatest, you know. But so let's put a nice picture here. Muhammad Ali, when you listen to his publicity, I'm the greatest. I'm so hard that I scared The Rock. Right? I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I'm so fast, I turned off the light and you didn't even see me move, right?
Right.
He had all these things, but when he got in the ring, he was that fast, he was that powerful, and he did knock people out, and he was harder than a rock. A narcissist who tends to talk about these fantasies of who they are and these over-exaggerated descriptions of what they've accomplished, and this overestimation of their own opinion or their own self, tends to not have any real grounding in reality.
Okay.
So I'm so intelligent, they failed all their classes. I'm so intelligent, they don't write the book. I'm so they actually have no, it's the person that gets in the ring. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, just to make it a little funny. They get in the ring and they see it on TikTok or Instagram, and it's like Kung Fu versus boxer, or Kung Fu master versus mixed martial artist. And the guy gets in the ring and he's wearing the white silk robe. He's a Tai Chi master, and he gets in there and he starts doing all this stuff. And the boxer is concerned because you don't take any threat lightly. I don't know what this guy's capable of. But then the Tai Chi master does this wind movement and this chi thing, and he swings his arm, and all of a sudden the guy dodges and hits him, and the Tai Chi master's on the ground. But before that, he was talking a lot about how he was going to release fire and energy, and how he was going to burn the boxer up, the mixed martial artist. That's a narcissist. And he got grounded with reality.
Wow.
Here's the thing about a true narcissist. Narcissism, NPD, how do you deal with someone if you're with number one, you have to be able to identify a narcissist.
Right.
Okay.
So for our audience, how would you identify a narcissist?
The way you would identify a narcissist is, again, they do have grandiose depictions of themselves, but you must ask, does it have basis and award in reality? Do they deliver?
Right.
Then they're not narcissists, they're massively confident.
That's a great
Muhammad Ali, some would say he was arrogant and self-absorbed, but then look at everything he did in the world. Look at all the good works he did. Look at all the donations he made to philanthropy. Look at all the foundations he established. So it was backed up. As a matter of fact, that was just show. He was a showman. He was a great showman. And so what happens is a narcissist, you will find indications that they talk a lot about themselves, but there's no, do they have a history of delivering at least? Because we want to be careful of judging someone in a chapter of their life
Right.
when you don't know the previous chapters.
Right.
They may have accomplished massive things and now are playing very low, lost a bit of it, lost all of it, and you find them in the chapter, and they do have this confidence that seems removed from where you're finding them.
Right.
But if you go find out what they've done, they have reason to know who they are. A narcissist does not have reason because they actually don't know who they are. So they must control the environment. They must control me and you. They must tell us what to believe. So you'll have great indication that the person's actually potentially a narcissist, and then walking in an NPD, which is a mental disorder, and they're so insecure that they need to control you, they need to control the environment, they need to control the narrative, they need to control who believes what. They don't allow you to have your own will, they don't allow you to have your own say, they don't allow you to go through your own pains. Some narcissists are, let's say this, sometimes people who suffer from being helicopter parents, they actually have a narcissistic tendency. They may not be a narcissist, but they have narcissistic tendencies because they're trying to control the outcome of how their children grow up and what they get exposed to and what they don't get exposed to. And so we must be very careful about screaming at people, flagging people narcissists.
Right.
The other thing is that when you're in proximity to a narcissist, you will tend to feel very, very small. Now, you have to be careful. You must ask yourself, have you ever felt small outside of the presence of another person?
That's a good.
Because if you tend to feel small because you lack confidence, then you must ask yourself, have I done that before? Then I have to be careful about calling someone a narcissist or thinking that they're a narcissist. Because I may be self-fulfilling prophecy in order to have someone look like a narcissist so that I can say, you see, I'm subjugated. I can't live my destiny because I'm subjugated.
Right.
But really, you're just asking for that environment.
Right.
At times, what I'm saying is if you tend to not be able to be great, be your greatness, be your highest self, be confident, be poised, be elegant, speak without stuttering, look at someone in the eyes without a sense of intimidation whatsoever. Narcissists tend to also make people feel intimidated, but in closed circles. So even if you have a narcissist who is a CEO executive of a company or corporation that has 500 employees or something, and they're a narcissist for some reason, their narcissism expends itself in a small group, the executive staff. They usually don't want to be a narcissist in front of everyone. So here's the key about a narcissist. Can a narcissist show love and affection and goodness and tenderness, or actually be what someone would say good, have a sense of affection? Yes, but it's conditional.
Gotcha.
As long as they're getting something.
Right.
So
as long as they're benefiting on the other side.
So let's say, as long as they're benefiting, they have to benefit. If the narcissism is not, if the relationship becomes what they see as a danger to their narrative, what they're saying they are, and what they want people to believe they are, they'll burn that person. Wow. They'll suppress that person. They'll control that person. They'll anchor that person. They'll suppress that person. They'll shrink that person. So around narcissists, people tend to feel, if they don't feel it on their own, this is key. If people feel small on their own, and they tend to not be able to spread their wings, right, and walk with their head high on their own, then be careful about looking that if there's a narcissist, because it might not be. But if you tend to be great, and in your life have been confident, whether you got a C or an A, confident. This is key, circumstances. Whether you get a C or an A, whether you won the championship or not, still confident at the end of the day. And you get around this person and you feel yourself getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, there's a narcissistic suppressive atmosphere at play. And so the suppressor is actually trying to, they have no understanding of the difference between them and their outside environment. Remember, this is a psychological disorder, so some might not get that, but seek to understand it. They don't understand the difference. And if you're hearing me and you're noticing that this is triggering something, let the Lord minister to you, because he's here to heal you. See, therapists could talk a lot about what things are, but they can't give a solution all the time. We have the solution. His name is Christ. Okay. And so what transpires, they have no understanding. They have a difficult time seeing the difference between them and their external environment. The other thing is that they surmise everything's supposed to, they don't have an understanding of the, they have no empathy. They have no ability to empathize. So this is the parent when their child actually is actually hurt. They're actually hurting. They wall up. What's wrong with you? Get over that. That's nothing, because the child crying removes attention from them.
Wow.
This is a person, I'm going to say this, this is a person that every time you share your problems in the sense of help me, I can't bear this burden on myself, I'm breaking down, they break down in the same moment more than you and start talking about them and their problems. Inversely, this is a person when they're wrong, they will not admit to it. And they'll turn it over on the person completely. But they won't admit they're wrong. It's different if there's a conversation and both parties say, yeah, well, this part, yeah, I could have done this. Yeah, you could have done that. You're right, you could have done that, but I could have done this. They won't do that. They will resist, and then they will tear that person down. Depending on the gradient of narcissism there is present as a muscle of exercise in their life.
Wow, that's really a good point.
So they don't have empathy. When you break down, they will sooner or later turn it back to them and break down, and all of a sudden you find yourself taking care of them when you came to help them. The inverse is that when they are, when they need to apologize, or when there's something going on, there's a discussion, there's something is coming to a head, they're being confronted, they won't not just apologize, they will create a story and try to get the other person to believe it.
Wow.
At that person's complete detriment.
So there's
so the only one winning, it's absolute manipulation.
Absolutely.
So the other thing about a narcissist is they purposely manipulate. They actually intentionally manipulate. Now, I want to bring a distinction between manipulation, okay? Manipulation sounds like a very, very bad word when you speak it in this context, right? It's almost loaded with a DNA trigger inside people, like manipulation, I don't want to be manipulated, right? But let's depolarize the word a little bit. If anyone deals with clay and makes pottery, you're a manipulator. You manipulate clay to make it from something to another. Whoever, if you're a jeweler and you craft gold, you're bending and heating materials to make something precious.
Right.
Those of you that are committed to your own self-mastery and personal transformation, you're manipulating yourself in a good way. Manipulation is neither bad nor good. It's about the motive of the manipulation. I'm going to say this, please don't be polarized. Hear what I just defined about what manipulation is in a word by itself. Remember, when you go listen to a word, it has like 4 different definitions, 5 different definitions.
This is how we teach.
So one could be when someone is controlling someone for their own gain and at the detriment of the other.
Right.
Yes, that's one word. But before that, manipulation was a man or a woman changing the form of something. Alchemy, transformation, transmutation.
Yes.
Is a form of manipulation.
All right.
When you having a negative thought go through your mind and you put your awareness in a different realm and you're able to shift that and yourself and put yourself in a better state of being, That's a form of manipulation. Okay. Every leader that is a great mentor, that is mentoring wonderful people, and those people are becoming better and better versions of themselves, there's a part of manipulation in that. But it's not bad, it's good. When you give an incentive to your child towards a reward for a certain type of beingness or some certain type of execution.
Right, like a cookie before
An
dinner.
incentive is a form of manipulation because it orients the mind towards reward rather than towards failure,
Right.
towards something that the person likes. See, it's in their benefit. They like it. They like the result they're going to have when they win.
Right.
They're going to like the journey. They're also going to grow. They're also going to develop.
Yes.
And they're also going to enjoy themselves. And they're going to be able to say out of their own mind, thank you for helping me.
Yes.
That is a good manipulation. Narcissists manipulate intentionally based on their own sense of reality and what is good for them at the detriment and expense of everyone around them. They are takers completely. And when we say takers, it's not bad to take. You should be able to receive. Ready? This is the key to narcissism. How many of you know people that can give and give and give and give and give? They love to be the hero. They give, but they can't receive.
Right.
Do you know that they can't truly fully give because they can't truly fully receive?
It's true.
A narcissist is completely devoid of empathy. They can't give. In the sense that they don't have the muscle for it. They feel that when they give empathy, you become the focus of attention, you become greater. So they want to be careful about how they give you empathy and make sure that they come out being the most beautiful person out of it. And you only have a sense of greatness coming out of it in reference to their greatness. And a narcissist will never replace themselves in a business. A narcissist will never duplicate themselves completely.
Wow. Wow. Wow, this is so powerful.
A narcissist will always make sure you know everything that they've ever done. Someone who's massively successful, they have things that they have not, even the things that they share that they've done, there's way more that they've done that they haven't even said or taken credit for.
Wow.
So someone that's very, very confident, super in the now, super humble. Jesus said, there was no one like me, there'll be no one after me. That's just true. Jesus said, if you see me, you've seen the Father. I'm sure some people thought, oh, that guy's a narcissist. Dude, you're blind. Look, you're a narcissist. He's getting attention and you're not. Oh, now I want to address something too. Religious narcissism. Narcissism present in the church. If you find yourself in a spiritual community or a church and the pastor has to be the right one all the time, and if you disagree with him, he bashes you, or a story goes around about you, or story goes around about you in the church because you confronted him about something, or even you questioned him on the teaching, and it wasn't out of avarice, it was out of true discovery. Hey, I'd like to know that, can you maybe have some time with me? Because you taught this, but I also know that the scripture says this, and it seems countermanding, and they get upset.
Yes.
They say, how dare you question me?
Yes.
And then, or they answer you, but it's with this edge.
Yes.
And then they're like, so you got your story now, you know?
Yes.
Or, hey, remember who the set man or woman is in this church, who the appointed one is.
Wow.
And then they send their elders out to watch you or ostracize you. You're in the church as being governed by a narcissist, and they don't even know it. And everyone that they've gathered around them to follow them in that church, especially the leaders, are playing the game to the suppressor. Suppressors tend to rule and govern over those that are weak in will, who need a place of security, who need a place of understanding, but then they control the whole narrative. And no one can be greater than them. King Saul, was a picture of a narcissist. King David slayed Goliath. Saul didn't do anything.
Right.
He did something. He didn't leave. He didn't leave the battlefield. The warriors kept trying to figure out what they were going to do. David came, slew him, but then David's notoriety grew. And it says that an evil spirit came upon Saul and he wanted to kill David. Okay. He wanted to kill David, and it said, and Saul grew in rage for the women in the nation sang. They made songs, pop songs. Saul slayed his thousands. David slayed his tens of thousands.
Right.
But
Wow.
the truth is that they were glorifying in the ancient Hebrew, they were glorifying both. They were saying, we're growing. Our nation is growing. We're a nation of victors, and we're getting better and better and better.
Right.
But the way a narcissist hears it is, I'm less than David, and takes that to be his identity. Oh, they got a better title in the company than me. My identity is God. A narcissist cannot lead 180 degrees like John Maxwell teaches, the 360-degree leader. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They're incapable, because even just the title they're garnering their identity from it. An accomplishment in business. If it fails, they fail. And they'll root out the investors. They'll bombard them on Facebook, on Instagram. They'll tear them up because their identity was rooted in that. And they don't want to be looked at as small.
So can I interrupt? Just
of course.
So we have a couple minutes here, and I want to maybe, what can somebody do if they find themselves in a position, for two examples, one that you just mentioned regarding pastor or religious place where they
leave that church. Regarding that church, if you find yourself, you're in a church where the head pastor or head leadership is governed by a narcissist that does all that stuff and has made people feel that way, you can even know if you've been there for 5 years and you've noticed people have disappeared silently, but they were massive leaders in the church and they've disappeared silently. That's a cover-up.
Wow.
I'm exposing someone right now. That's a cover-up. You need to leave that church ASAP. Make sure the best way to do it is, if they don't know that you're onto them, get your reference for your services there and let the Lord lead you to a healthy church in a healthy spiritual environment. The only way to deal with a narcissist is, number one, if you have the courage to confront them. Call them out on their mechanisms that don't match life. Do you realize? Don't confront them to tear them down, because then that's just your ego. No, draw them into a conversation, or the thing is, they'll be highly threatened if you bring a mediator. They don't like mediation, because then now you have two people there and look at them the way that they don't want to be looked at.
Right. Wow.
Anyone confident doesn't matter. They'll go into 3 people, 12 people. Go ahead, like Jesus, put me around 20 people that are going to cross-examine me. It doesn't matter. I know who I am. I know what I'm here for. Okay. And because I'm assuming I'm speaking to people that may not have experience with this. With me, it would be different. I would flip the whole thing on their head. I'm capable of doing that now. I know how the energy works. I know how there are things in the scripture that speak exactly to this. And so the scripture said, Solomon said in Proverbs 9, verse 8, do not rebuke the scoffer, or he'll revile you. So the narcissist will not. Verse 7 says he cannot receive correction. So you don't put your pearls before them. Okay.
Right.
But what you can do is say, for my part, I have come to know that there's certain mechanisms that you're operating in. And I don't know if you see it, but you have done this in this scenario. In this scenario, you did this. In this scenario, you did this. And that matches up with, can I read something to you? Definition of a narcissist. WebMD, Psychology MD website. Read it directly from the thing. They do this, they do that. And you have done that several different times. And I love you so much. You're such a loving person in your heart. I know you have the capacity for love and empathy, and everything's inside of you. But for now, I'm going to remove myself from relationship with you and be very clear. We're not doing this anymore. This business is over. I'm not serving underneath you regarding this ministry. I'm not involved in this karate class anymore, because it could be anywhere. Wow. And they love to be either the teacher's pet, the assistant admin, or the head. They rather be the head, because then they control everything. Could be, people tend to think of a husband because he's the man, but women could be massive narcissists in a home, controlling the family, always picking at the husband, emasculating the husband, right? If you're in a relationship with a parent, or you already grew up and you're outside of the house, you'll notice that every time you call them, you feel bad. You'll notice that they tell your junk to other people. They can't keep secrets. They can't keep confidentiality, because they're trying to spin a web. that they're, number one, the narcissist is the victim. There's no victim greater than the narcissist. They always want their whole platform is based on victim. And even in their success, if they have it, they'll say, "Whoa, you don't know what I went through to get here."
Wow.
And they'll make it look really, you don't know. It's never gone in the past. It's always present. Yeah, I got hurt and this happened and this happened and this happened. It's always present. The past is always present.
Yes.
Because they want to make sure that no one has a greater both success and victim story than them, because both equal attention. Whether it's a success story or a victim story, they both equal attention and a sense of, I see you, we love you, you're loved, what can I do for you? Oh, it's okay, thank you so much. Oh, I'm better now. You know, they flip the conversation.
Right.
Well, you don't know how bad I was hurt. They won't apologize. What can you do? Confront, or confront from a distance and say, this is what you do. This is not up for discussion. I've taken some time to overview this and I don't feel comfortable. I am not myself, so I'm going to honor myself for right now. I hope that you can understand. Please read these articles if you're willing, because you're doing the world a great favor by bringing awareness of empathy to them. Have you ever felt true empathy without receiving something in return?
Wow.
For someone? Have you felt
Beautiful point.
empathy for someone that couldn't give you anything? Have you helped someone without anyone looking?
That's a good point.
Have you helped someone and then no one was looking and then you didn't tell anyone? Do you have records in your life where you have true empathy, or you've cried just from talking about the pain of others and no one was looking? You were alone watching a movie or a newscast about sexual abuse or sex slaves, and you're weeping and no one sees that you're weeping. And the next day you get up and you start a foundation. Like, can you do that? And if you thought, well, I don't need to do that. Well, if you're resistant, you may have this issue in your life. It's okay. Ready? The most important thing to tell them is, I'm not trying to destroy you. You're safe. But then don't try to be their hero, because they don't have the mechanism yet to be trusted with you in proxy to your life, to their life. You must remove. You must, as much as it hurts, you must distance yourself from when you're enabling a narcissist, a true narcissist. And most of the times, those that cry narcissist to someone who's a beautiful, wonderful, giving person is the one with the narcissistic tendency, because they want the attention on them.
Wow.
They'll say when, oh, why did you have to talk about your win from last week? You're such a narcissist. Oh, so you could talk about your successes, but I can't share mine. No one ever called you. See, but you notice that you feel like you can't even share that with them. Like you can't even just come back to them and say, well, how come it's good for you and not good for me? If you feel it and you hear it inside because it's truth, but something shrinks you to be able, so you must remove yourself, gain your posture again, gain your strength, confront, bring awareness, and remove. And then this is very, very key. If you do this to others, I'm not trying to destroy you, but if I see you doing this to others, I will intervene. I will tell them that you do this to people. It's so important. Sometimes the only thing that'll wake up a narcissist is the knowledge that they will not be able to continue to get away with it. And they have to confront their brokenness.
Wow.
They have to confront their pain, their hurt, their lack of empathy, where their parents did something to them, where they're in survival mechanism, where they're insecure, where everything is ascribed to accomplishment or stories or narratives, and they live in this fantasy world, and how that reality is safe, and yet they could still create reality with God.
Yes.
And that God has a plan for you. He has a destiny for you. His plan is good and not evil. It's good all the time.
Yes.
Plan to prosper you, a plan to give you a future and a hope, a plan to bless you and to make you a blessing, which means that you will feel blessed within yourself, and you'll be a blessing to others without controlling them, knowing that they're powerful beings, and you'll be able to receive from the powerful beings around you, and literally at times just receive. I'll give you a little tip. If you tend to have a narcissistic tendency but aren't a narcissist, one way to work the muscle is when people give you compliments, don't say, oh, you don't have to say anything, just receive. Thank you. Oh, you look so beautiful. Don't think that you have to give a compliment back. If you're a man, men struggle with this. They receive a compliment. You look so handsome today. Oh, you look beautiful. Oh, and then they go above and beyond. Just receive the compliment, especially from other men. Especially from other men. Oh, brother, your jacket, man, I love your style. You look good. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I feel good. Accept it. Wait. You know what? I just noticed your shoes, like your shoes, or whatever. But begin to exercise the receptivity muscle, and you'll notice that empathy begins to flow and vulnerability begins to be accessible
Wonderful.
to you at a greater reality. And don't think that anyone confronting you about areas that you get to grow is them attacking you. If they're not attacking you, but that you're safe
Absolutely.
with safe people.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a beautiful segment.
Yeah.
I hope that you all have learned something. I mean, what a powerful place to be, to want to identify. It could be a friend, it could be a family, it could be somebody, your friends and friends.
Get support.
Right, get support.
Yep.
Absolutely. And if, again, you deserve to be in a place that you feel safe.
Yes.
So first and foremost, are you safe
Yes.
with this individual?
And can you be your authentic self?
Exactly, exactly. So I am so appreciative of you being here as my guest today. So
Always.
grateful. Guys, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like if this has blessed you, and share it because you care. We are doing this many times throughout the weeks coming ahead, and there are going to be so many resources and availability for you to grow. So if you have a question of your own, I'd like to encourage you to go to our Facebook page at Triumph Global Now, hit the message button, submit your questions so that they can be on our segment, so you can get the answer.
Hashtag discovery moment.
Yes, so that we can air it, and we can have some great conversations moving forward. And I am Isabel David.
And I'm Jason David.
And we are so grateful for you. Have a blessed day and a great night. Thank you.